Hello and welcome to Round 4 Flicks. In this video, we're going to feature some of the top fantasy television shows that you should watch if you haven't already. This won't be a typical fantasy series list because we also included a few fantasy shows with elements of horror, adventure, and sci-fi. These shows aren't entirely fantasy, but their hybrid nature gives them the best stories, which you should watch if you like fantasy. Let's now begin the video. Number 10. The Ministry of Time. Javier and Pablo Olivares are the creators of this fantasy adventure series. The show centers on the investigations of a team from the Ministry of Time that looks into incidents involving time travel that might have an impact on the present. The Ministry of Time is a clandestine organization that guards the doors to time in order to prevent time travelers from other eras from interfering with events and changing them to their own advantage. The story follows a 16th century soldier, a 19th century female college student, and a 21st century medical expert as they work together to serve this organization that hides a maze of time portals. Their mission is to prevent people from changing history by using these portals and to make sure that history proceeds as it should. The show includes significant plot flaws and some poor performances from the supporting characters, but the story expertly combines history, sci-fi, time travel, and fantasy, and it has a compelling underlying theme. Number 9. Lock and Key. It is a fantasy horror series that is based on Joe Hill's comic book series of the same name. The story begins with the strange murder of a mystery guy named Rendell Locke and centers on his wife Nina, who decides to move with their 3 children and live in Key House, Rendell's family home, though they had no idea it was anything but a regular house. Soon, the kids begin to find mysterious keys that can open a variety of doors by magic that have been secretly placed throughout the house. They are first thrilled to have found magical keys, but they soon learn that a dark entity is also hunting for the keys to further its terrible goals. The series included 3 seasons. However, the 3rd season's confused plots and hurriedly wrapped-up episodes left much to be desired. The 3rd season might be more thrilling than the first 2 for those who like magic and mystery. Imagine it as a key that can be used to access unreachable dreams, wishes, and places. Fans of fantasy series should already be enthusiastic about this series for this reason. The story is unique and quite different from something you have seen before in the fantasy genre. Number 8. True Blood. Alan Ball is the creator of this fantasy horror series. The story takes place in the modern century, when vampires dominate the planet and pose a grave threat to humanity. However, it has been shown that vampires may consume a substitute for human blood that has all the same effects as human blood. The main story revolves around psychic bartender Sookie Stackhouse, whose life is turned upside down when she falls in love with Bill Compton, a vampire who has been around for 100 years. Sookie must deal with the challenges and risks that come with Bill and Sookie's closeness and relationships. Although vampires and humans can now coexist peacefully, there are still rogue elements on both sides who try to exploit the fragile balance. The remaining episodes of the series focus on the vampires' struggle for inclusion and equality, as anti-vampire organizations start to gain ground. True Blood still offers an outstanding supernatural fantasy storyline that is filled with romance and offers contemporary interpretations of vampires, witches, werewolves, and other mythical beings. Even though the plot becomes a little predictable as the seasons progress, the show is also extremely bingeable, very addicting, and full of twists and turns that constantly keep you interested. Number 7. The Sandman. It is a fantasy drama series based on Neil Gaiman's comic book published by DC Comics. The story centers on Morpheus, one of the 7 Eternals and the celestial entity in charge of all dreams. A long time ago, Morpheus was taken prisoner during a ritual and imprisoned in a glass jar. This took place when a sorcerer made an attempt to capture Death in exchange for an immortal life but unintentionally trapped Dream, Death's younger brother. However, Dream escapes from captivity after 105 years, and in an effort to repair the damage his departure has caused, he sets out in pursuit of his stolen magical items. The Corinthian, an escaped nightmare who has no desire to continue the dream, makes this journey significantly more challenging as it requires traveling through various realms and universes. It was always going to be difficult to adapt a comic as innovative and visually spectacular as The Sandman, but Netflix has succeeded in brilliantly transforming Gaiman's writings into a style that works incredibly well with the help of excellent characters. Number 6. Outlander. It's amazing that this show has already had 7 seasons and has been renewed for a concluding 8th season along with a prequel series when you consider how few people know about it. We will only discuss the first season's spoiler-free plot in order to give you a clear understanding of the show's basic concept. It is a true hidden gem and a fantastic show that fans of the fantasy genre as well as everyone else should watch. The story centers on Claire Fraser, a married military surgeon from 1945 who is mysteriously transferred to 1743, when she finds herself pushed into an unfamiliar atmosphere where her life is in danger. There, she meets a Scottish soldier and falls in love with him while being dragged into a massive revolt. Outlander is a fascinating historical fantasy drama with a wonderfully created plot. This show has many beautiful aspects, which I won't mention here because doing so would constitute giving away spoilers, including the people, their plot lines, the breathtaking scenario, and much more. Number 5. Wednesday. Al Gough and Miles Miller are the creators of this dark fantasy supernatural mystery series. To be absolutely honest, nobody anticipated this series to be as fantastic as it was, and just in case you missed it, it really surprised everyone. Stranger Things 4 was surpassed by Wednesday as the most watched Netflix series of 2022. The story centers on Wednesday, whose parents, Gomez and Morticia Adams, admitted her to Nevermore, a school for supernatural dropouts that they had attended when they were younger. Due to her detached personality, Wednesday finds it difficult to connect with her fellow students and makes the decision to leave the school. However, when she learns that the neighborhood has been devastated by a terrible killing spree, she changes her mind and stays so she can use her developing telepathic ability to solve the unusual murder cases. The best part about this show is that it never makes you feel bored, and Jenna Ortega's Wednesday is outstanding. The fact that the show is still quite enjoyable despite its imperfections is what really counts. Number 4. ARTHDAL Chronicles. Kim Young-hyun and Park Sang-hyun are the writers of this epic historical fantasy series. The story is set in the mythical country of Arth, where wars for dominance are fought amongst the tribes of the ancient city of ARTHDAL. The main story centers on Unseum, who tries to restore the grandeur of his tribe while learning the truth about his ancestors. The setting of the story is incredibly unique, and it beautifully tells the tale of legendary heroes, their conflicts, their friendships, and the people that live in the fantastical world of Earth. Despite the fact that there are multiple tribes and stories, there are thrilling action scenes with fascinating political subplots and characters who are clueless about their own abilities and flaws. This series is incredibly interesting and presents a unique perspective on a fairly standard fantasy story. Number 3. Marvel's Runaways. Josh Schwartz and Stephanie Savage are the creators of this superhero fantasy adventure series. The story centers on 6 teenagers who team up to fight their evil parents and collectively operate an organization called Pride. Here, Pride is an organization that commits crimes and has different motivations, sort of blending superhero fantasy with sci-fi. In conclusion, you might consider this show a fusion of various genres. The youngsters flee after discovering shocking information about their parents while they work to overcome Pride and their ultimate goal, which the audience won't be able to guess until the very end. This is good because the plot successfully manages its surprise throughout, which helps to keep viewers interested in each season. Even though it is unrelated to the MCU, it is still a part of it, and has numerous references that Marvel fans will definitely find interesting. No, you don't need to have seen any of Marvel's earlier movies or television shows to enjoy this show. Number 2. Warrior Nun. For those who were disappointed by the show's cancellation, there is some good news. The show's creator stated that it would return at some stage, and according to rumors, Season 3 will be made available on Amazon Prime. One of the best fantasy adventure shows in recent years, according to many who just heard about this show. The show tells the story of a lady who was declared dead but awakens in a morgue after having an enchanted object implanted in her body, which gives her superhuman powers. As soon as she regains consciousness, she realizes that she has been transformed into a member of the legendary organization known as the Cruciform Sword and that she is now in charge of guiding the other members of the group in their fight against demons. While the warrior nuns do everything in their power to protect it, there are powerful forces from both heaven and hell at work that are fighting for the object she is holding and will stop at nothing to get it. The series has stunning visuals and is shot in magnificent locations, which enhances the storyline and subject. The inclusion of vehicle chases and fight sequences that take place in ancient defenses and sanctuaries improves the overall quality of the series. The program is fresh, unique, and a must-watch for aficionados of the fantasy genre. Number 1. House of the Dragon. This turned out to be the year's top fantasy show, as was to be expected. It is an epic fantasy show based on the A Song of Ice and Fire book series. The beginning of House Targaryen's decline is shown in the series, along with the events that led to the epic War of Succession known as the Dance of the Dragons. The story starts decades before the events of Game of Thrones, when King Viserys Targaryen chooses his daughter Rhaenyra as the next heir to the Iron Throne, breaking a long-standing tradition and beginning their constant decline from power. However, the court was shocked to learn that Rhaenyra continued to be Viserys' heir when he later had a son. This decision upset many people, which started a fight for the Iron Throne among the Targaryen children. There aren't many issues with the show, but compared to Game of Thrones, there is a notable lack of intensity. Despite this, House of the Dragon is an excellent example of a series that goes above and beyond expectations and has plenty of surprises in store for you. That is all for today. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to our channel to view future videos about suggested movies and television shows.